Good morning, my friends. Good morning. Welcome back. It's December 1st, and welcome to the James Ray Show. Welcome, everyone, to the stream. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:07, a little later than usual, but good to see you all. We haven't streamed yesterday, but it's December now, and we could do this for. Welcome everybody coming into the chat, and super excited. Today we are going to draw something a little timely, and I was kind of going back and forth of what we were going to draw today, but I really wanted to do Pokemon with muscles, and we will eventually do that one day. But a couple days ago, the Super Mario trailer came out, and I've done that before. I have done Super Mario before, but watching the trailer. It's pretty cool. I enjoyed it. So I was like, you know what? Why don't we try to do it again? We'll try to do it again, and we'll try to do it better than we did it the first time around. But welcome to the show. My name is James Reyes. I am the box office artist. If you want to talk to me today, okay, of course, you could throw in a super chat, of course. But, and I will always respond to super chat first just because people, anyone who wants to donate to support the channel, by all means, I'll definitely talk to you first. But you don't necessarily have to do that. You could just go to the community chat, and let me just quickly show you the community chat for those of you who don't know. Go to the community chat here, the top post, ask me anything. That's what it says here, ask me anything right here. So again, if we go to my channel, go to my channel here, head over to community, and then go ask me anything. Somebody already asked me something. Click on this, ask me your question there, and that's what we will do. Okay, so with that in mind, we are going to get started here. Won't waste any more time. Let's go ahead and start drawing this Super Mario. Well, I'll tell you some things that are on my mind. First of all, my voice is coming back, so thank you to everyone who's asking. My voice is it's coming. It's coming soon. The voice, I'm coughing now, but the voice is coming back soon. My voice is around 97%. Yesterday was pretty bad. Actually, not yesterday. Like the day before was pretty bad. But it's coming back. For those who don't know, on the weekend, I had my show for kids. It's called Time to Draw. And I had a wonderful time. Over 200 kids showed up, and taught them how to draw some really cute things. Whenever I do my children's show, it's always something that I feel small children can do. So I'm not going to go there and teach them how to draw these big elaborate Transformers or anything like that. And I saw Webmaster says Transformers Rise of the Beast trailer comes out tomorrow. We're going to review that tomorrow. We will definitely review that tomorrow if that comes out. But good time was had by all, for sure. But speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about a few topics here before I get into your comments and questions. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the news of the day. And one big thing, of course, is the that Super Mario trailer that came out a couple days ago, which is why we're doing this today. Because I highly enjoyed it. I highly enjoyed that trailer. So let me know your thoughts on the Super Mario trailer. A lot of feels in that trailer. Of course, we had, Mario Kart in there. That was cool. Donkey Kong in the movie. Come on, Donkey Kong. So, I watched that trailer, and I said to myself, you know what? I kind of want to draw it again. So, I know I've done it before. I know I've drawn a lot of these things before. So, it depends what it is. Like, if it's something I'm excited to draw, I'll draw it again. Sure. Everything doesn't have to always be 100% new. It's just going to be something I 100% like to do. So that's why I kind of really wanted to go in and draw this Super Mario. Okay, the morning sniffles. Let me just blow my nose quickly here. Hold on a second. Try not to gross you out in the chat. And hello to my friend Mario, who here is holding down the fort right now. But yeah, you know what? In terms of the voice, and that was the contention for the first trailer everyone was all up in arms about Chris Pratt's voice. It didn't bother me. I'll admit, didn't bother me at all in this trailer. It just looks like a fun time at the movies, and that's all you really want these days. Just give me a fun time at the movie. That's all I care about. Trailer looks great. Hit you in the feels, my friends. Hit you in the nostalgia. Hit you straight in the nostalgia. That's what it does. Hit you straight into the nostalgia. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and draw this piece. So this is gonna be bulky Mario. Speaking of Mario, speaking of my friend Mario here, my moderator today, gonna draw Mario. There you go. Drawing a real talk about Super Mario. This is gonna be a Super Mario. So will this be a Chris Pratt? I actually did do a Chris Pratt Mario before. I have done that before. But this is not necessarily gonna be Chris Pratt. It's just gonna be Mario with muscles, which I have drawn before. I have drawn them before, but just wanted to try to draw them again. This time as a double page spread. And so far so good. Liking how it's looking. But yeah, so super excited for that movie. Like, it's coming out in April. They had all these character posters that came out, and they all look pretty fantastic. I must say, Bowser looks great. Princess Peach looks great. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this movie. You know, a lot of the movies these days, they don't really excite me in that sense. So really excited to see what this movie has in store. So yeah. So what did you guys think of the Super Mario trailer? Did it excite you like the way it excited me? Yeah, so there you go. But I will tell you something that does excite me right now. And yes, Mario, I'm doing a portrait of you. That's right. That's what I'm doing right now. But tell you something that even excites me even more. It might not excite a lot of these younger fans. Might not know what this is. But according to, again, one of my childhood crushes, Alyssa Milano, they're working on a Who's the Boss reboot. Or not reboot. I don't know if it's a reboot or not. But Who's the Boss was one of my favorite shows growing up. Tony Danza. And they are doing a brand new Who's the Boss show. I was like, what? Who's the Boss? I don't know if that's old news or not. That probably is old news. But it's for a streaming service. Let me just take a look here. So for those of you who don't know, Who's the Boss? It's about Tony Danza's character, Tony, and his daughter moving in with this rich family. And it's one of those where you want them to get together, you know? And through the seasons, you've been wanting Tony to get together with the mom, with Angela. You want them to get together. So you're watching every week just to see if they get together. So right here it says here, let's see here. Okay, the Alyssa Milano's and Tony Danza's Who's the Boss revival is around the bend. Amazon's Freevee streaming service picked up the prequel series. So it's a prequel series. Well, which means, what, are they just going to reminisce? So they're not the main stars, they're just reminiscing about the older days. Is that what that's about? We'll see here. Let's see here. 30 years after their ABC sitcom ended. So it's the sequel's in the works at Sony Pictures Television since 2020, so they've been working on it for a while. Let's see here. And they submitted a script. And it's okay, it's not greenlit yet. But you know those that's the thing. Those are some of my favorite shows, like Moonlighting. For those of you who don't know, Bruce Willis, Sybil Shepherd, long time ago. Okay, it's showing my age. Long time in the 80s. What made that show work was that they or won't they? Will they get together or won't they? And that was definitely, for the first couple seasons, that was one of the things. Will Angela and Tony get together after a while? Any of you guys know what I'm talking about? Have any of you seen that show, Who's the Boss? Anybody seen that show Who's the Boss? It's a lot of fun. Maybe I could draw Who's the Boss in a marble style. Maybe. You know what it's like? It's like what are those characters in Andor? You know those characters in Andor? Andor? Is that what's her name? Mira, and the other dude. You want them to get together. The will they or won't they? They are the next moonlighting. Those two characters. Those two characters in Andor. Forget about the rebellion. I just want to see those two get together. It just makes it interesting, you know. And every week you're like, oh, well, they won't they? But the problem is, once they get together, their show's done. Show's over. That's what happened to Moonlighting once those two characters got together, you know. It's just like in there's a show I like called Suits. Have you ever seen a show called Suits? My wife loved Suits. She was a gigantic fan of Suits. For those who don't know, Suits, that's where Meghan Markle, that's where she got famous before she became Meghan Markle. That was the show she was on. And the whole thing was about the guy that wasn't a lawyer, but he was pretending to be a lawyer. But the moment they resolved that part of the show, I feel the show really went downhill once that part got out of the way. Once that part got resolved, because the whole point was he was pretending to be a lawyer, but he wasn't a lawyer. The one guy. But once they resolved that, the show wasn't that interesting anymore. So once you end the main conflict, you got to find some other conflict, or else, you know, nobody's going to really watch the show. So, taking a long time on this layout here. That's fine. So that's pretty exciting. So that's who's the boss, guys. Who's the boss? Who's boss fan? Let me know in the comments. Okay. But in the meantime, let's also talk. Since we are talking a little bit about Chris Pratt here, as I'm drawing the face, let's talk a little bit about Guardians of the Galaxy. I haven't seen the holiday special yet. Probably will try to get to it this weekend. I'm hearing good things about it, so maybe I'll go check that out. But they are starting off the Guardians of the Galaxy marketing right now, because a big convention coming up this weekend is called CCXP in Brazil. I heard about this from my friends at Disney, because they were originally thinking about bringing my Star Wars mural. If you guys remember that Star Wars mural I did for Disney, they were originally thinking about bringing that to CCXP. But they ended up not doing it, and I have a feeling because it wasn't good enough. I have a feeling because they felt it wasn't good enough. That's just they never told me that exactly, but they were planning on bringing that mural down, and they never did it. They never did it to CCXP. They never did it. So part of me thinking, okay, maybe. You know. And hindsight's 2020. I look back at that mural that I did, and it is what it is. It is what it is. I would have loved to have gone to Brazil. I actually, for a while, Brazil was my number 3. Actually, number 2. There was a while where Brazil was my number 2 audience. Brazil. Because usually it's the U.S. first, and then number 2 always fluctuates between places like the UK, the Philippines. So I always wanted to go to Brazil. I actually asked a buddy of mine because I taught a lot of Brazilian students. I had a lot of students in the program I was in. A lot of the students, they were from Brazil, and I was asking about that, like, you know, should I go to Brazil for a con? And they kind of warned me. They were like, yeah, but you kind of want to live, right? So I always wanted to go to Brazil. Always scared to go to Brazil. Always scared to go to Brazil. But if you're going for a con, if Disney was paying for you to go, I was really hoping Disney was going to send me down to CCXP. They never did. So maybe one day I'll get to go to CCXP, experience Brazil safely. Of course, I want to go to Brazil safely, but we'll see. We'll see one day. So that is coming out this weekend, and then they are really ramping up. It's a good place to debut things. They say it's the next Comic-Con, right? So you have San Diego Comic-Con, they have New York Comic-Con, and then they say this one is building to be the next big thing. CCXP. It is going to be the next big thing. So they're ramping up the Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, Mario. Oh, hold on. I'm just getting Mario's hat. I need Mario reference, guys. I need Mario reference. So they're building up the Guardians of the Galaxy. What's it called? Promotion. They're getting ready for the movie. And that's going to be interesting. That's going to be James Gunn's last feature for Marvel. Because, as we all know, he's taken over DC. How do I not know what Mario looks like, by the way? How do I not know what Mario looks like? Mario's here. There you go. So, exciting times. So I got to ask you guys, who's going to die? Or is anyone going to die? I think they're all going to die. I think Drax is toast. I really do. I think Drax is toast. I think out of anyone, I think Drax is going to be it. That's going to be going because Dave Bautista, he said that's pretty much it. He's not playing that character anymore after Volume 3. Who do you think is toast in there? I think Drax is toast. I think Groot's going to stick around. I think Chris Pratt's going to stick around. I think he will definitely stick around. Mantis, who I believe plays a huge role in the holiday special, like because I heard you hear about the big parts of that particular show, which is why I want to watch. I think she's going to stick around a little bit. But Nebula, Gamora, yeah, I think there's one. I think the number one on my death watch for the Guardians of the Galaxy show. My number one, I think it's Drax. I think Drax is going. He's toast. And then it was just be cool to see what else they promote over there, because I think we've been very disappointed recently in terms of announcements when it comes to Comic-Con and stuff like that. Like they're not as big as they used to be. Like even D23 didn't kind of live up to expectations. It's stuff we were expecting. You're always there and you want to hear stuff that you weren't expecting. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens if there's anything worth talking about after this weekend. I guess then we'll talk about that on Monday, if that's the case. Look at this. Look at this Mario here. Look at this Mario series. Talk about Super. Talk about Super Mario. There you go. There you go. My common fists. Fists of fury. With my common fist of fury. Mario needs a bigger nose. Mario says, should I give Mario a bigger nose? Maybe I should give Mario a bigger nose. There you go. So anyway, that's the exciting part about it. So we don't know when Guardians of the Galaxy will hit streaming. But speaking of something that has been hitting streaming, it's something called Wednesday. Have you guys watched that Wednesday series? Wednesday, apparently. Wednesday's probably is breaking records. Surprisingly, it's breaking records. Have you guys watched the Wednesday series? Apparently, it's breaking a lot of records. It's doing better than Stranger Things. They're saying this Wednesday series. Hear that and you're like, oh, that's a surprise. That's a surprise. Angel Bob's watched Wednesday's first episode. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. So, you know, it's interesting with these older revivals. I think, maybe part of the reason I wrote it off was I think maybe because of that Monsters reboot that Rob Zombie did. And the backlash that got. Well-deserved backlash that got. So, I didn't really have high expectations for this Wednesday series. But apparently it's people are liking it. People are liking Wednesday. So that might be something to check out. Let me know if you guys have watched it at all. Because I kind of want to know if you guys watched it, if you're enjoying it like us. So Angel Bob's liking it a lot right now. So maybe it's worth it to catch an episode or two just to see. Just to see if it's my cup of tea here. So I guess just pulling up my references. Let me get some references here. Let's see here. Yeah. So we'll see. A lot for me to watch, right? A lot for me to watch. I don't watch a lot of series because of the amount of time. You guys know I'm an extremely busy guy. So watching a lot of these shows, it eats up a good amount of time. So I'm very selective. If I do watch a series, I'm very, very selective on what I want to watch. I finally finished Andor. And how great was Andor? Andor was great. Really, really, really enjoyed Andor. Just something to watch at the gym, really. When I'm doing cardio. Just want something to watch. And now that Andor's done, try to find another show to watch. So Wednesday might be one. Though Angel Bob said that Willow came out yesterday, so that might be something too. Maybe I'll catch Willow just to see. I don't think I've seen the original Willow. I don't think I've seen it. I'm trying to remember. If I did watch it, I was very young. But I don't think I've seen the original movie, Willow. But again, talking about things that you hear really good things about the Willow series. So excited to see that too. Willow. Care Bear recommends the movie. It's fun. Watch the original, not the series, or Ruvia Payne says. See, that's the thing with remakes. If you never watched the original, you ask yourself, okay, should I watch the original first and then watch the series, or should you go reverse? Because if it's beloved enough for them to make a sequel or a remake, I think it's 50-50 all the time, right? Or less, where the remake or the new series is actually better than the original. So part of me is thinking maybe I should watch the series first, then watch the original. So Paul's giving some spoilers in the chat here. What a spoiler guy you are, there, Paul. So part of me is thinking if I'm gonna watch it, I'm not gonna watch the original first. I'm gonna watch the series first, and if it turns out better than the original, hey, even better, right? But if you guys watched it, it's great. So Care Bear's an advocate for watching things in release order. Me too. I like to watch things sometimes in for example, I think that biggest debate comes when people talk about Star Wars. Like, what order do you watch Star Wars? You know, they have all sorts of methods to watch Star Wars. And people will tell you different. Do you watch it in actual sequence? Do you watch it in release order? I am a release order guy whenever they talk about that stuff. Because that's how they intended you to watch it. They never intended you to watch it in a certain way. And then you experience it like the way the rest of us experience it. I'm a release order guy. Yeah. And then watch it again chronologically afterwards. Care Bear says, yes, absolutely. It's definitely something, afterwards, if you want to watch it again. Of course. And that's the biggest thing. Do you actually want to watch it again? But I'm definitely a release order guy. You always hear me say, when someone asks me how do I watch Star Wars, never watched it before, watch the release order. Because there's also a huge difference in quality, too, right? Because as amazing as the original original trilogy is, I won't say better, but it's different. When you look at the quality of the movies, it's different in terms of the CG and everything, right? It's a different feel. Because then you start seeing Easter eggs and stuff like that afterwards, right? So I would definitely say chronologically. Or not chronologically. I would definitely say release. So technically, I should watch Willow first before, but I think I'm not going to. I think I'm going to watch the series first. But thank you for letting me know about that it's released already. So I'm definitely going to download that before I head to the gym today. And we'll see how that sounds. There you go. So congratulations to Wednesday for breaking all those records. That's pretty cool. That is very, very cool. I don't know if that's enough for me to watch it, though. I don't know if I'll actually watch it because of that, but we'll see what the hype is. We'll see if everyone's still watching it after a while, because it's definitely not a series that I'm clamoring to watch. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But speaking of that, of things I'm kind of excited for, not excited for, they put out a new Flash, Flash movie. What's it called, logo yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, that's a logo. That's a logo. We'll see about this Flash movie. This is one of the most interesting stories right now in comics, is this Flash movie and how it fits in the grander scheme of things. Because by all accounts, they should have canceled this movie. They really should have canceled this movie, but they're not going to, because it's their only way to kind of reset everything. But, I'm happy it's coming out, just mainly because of the Michael Keaton factor. I really want to see him as Batman. We're not going to see Batgirl anymore. Batgirl's never coming out. I actually get why they got rid of Batgirl. I really do. Like, if Batgirl was good, it would have been released. If it was actually good, they would have released it. Now, at the same time, they didn't think that Wonder Woman was good either. The first one. Because if you remember, they didn't lift the embargo for that movie. For those of you who don't know embargo, like the reviews, they didn't lift that embargo until like the day before or something like that, which is a sign that they didn't have confidence in the movie. But it did really well. People liked it. People liked Wonder Woman. Not 1984, but they did like Wonder Woman. So So, but I get if they thought that they were like, this movie's not going to make money, this movie's going to lose a lot of money. You know, let's just eat our losses, call it a tax write-off. I get that. As a business owner, I get that. I get why they end up doing that. It's just sad because I really wanted to see. I want to see Michael Keaton's role in the movie. As a Michael Keaton fan, I want to see his role in the movie. So that's one thing I'm excited about this Flash movie, is just to see Michael Keaton again as Batman. That's the biggest thing for me. And happy he's getting the chance. I want to see him and Affleck on screen together. I really do. I hope they do it. They might not. They might not do it. They might not do it. They could be like just different universes. He's in different universes. We'll see what happens. Yeah, and then of course with all the Ezra Miller allegations, which is pretty crazy. I'm not touching that. So but that shows you how much they want this movie out. With all those allegations coming out, like, this movie should have been canceled. It should have been. But they put so much money into this movie. They've been working on this movie for years. Talk about, it's almost getting to like Black Adam levels, you know, where Black Adam was. They talked about Batman, or Black Adam for what, 10 years? Well over 10 years. This is starting to feel like that, you know. It's like we've been talking about this movie forever. But isn't that sad? The cycle, if you think about it, the cycle of you know, the relevancy of movies. It's like, because they've been working on this thing for years. Like, think about Black Adam. They've been working on Black Adam for like over 10 years. They've been working on Black Adam. The Rock's been hyping up Black Adam for over 10 years. It's finally released after 10 years. We talk about it for a few days and then that's it. It's gone. It's gone. We don't talk about it no more. We talk about this movie for 10 years. No, nobody cares. The only reason people care now is because The Rock keeps bringing it up. It's the only reason people care. Right. So. They don't care. So we'll see. I'll watch it. It's more interesting. Again, it is more interesting how they're going to market this movie. That's what I'm more interested in. I'm more interested in seeing, hey, how are they going to do it? I think that because, and it's going to be the number one question on all these reporters' minds, that Ezra Miller factor. So that's going to be the interesting part of this movie, not the movie itself. How are they marketing this movie? That is going to be the most interesting part. This whole process. So we'll see how it goes. Definitely see how it goes. So the Flash movie is coming out in April. At the same time as the Super Mario movie, if I'm not mistaken. Around the same time. So exciting times to add by all. Right? So, but we'll see what this new DC entails. We'll see what it entails. Yesterday, James Gunn, he did a little tease yesterday. You saw that. He did a little Kingdom Come tease. Did you guys read Kingdom Come? Read Kingdom Come, one of what's it called? Alex Ross, one of my favorite artists of all time. Alex Ross's masterpiece, Kingdom Come. And they were teasing he was teasing Kingdom Come yesterday. Teasing Kingdom Come. That's crazy. But, you know, for those of you who don't know, Kingdom Come, all our favorite heroes, they're all older, right? They're all older. So it really sounds like an Elseworld story to me. If they're going to do that, which, you know, kind of throws out the window all that interconnectivity, and how they're going to pull that off. So I'm wondering why he shared that. Is he going to actually create, you know, an Elseworlds tale, or is that going to fit into the bigger bigger DCEU. I'm not sure. I don't know what that means. Not sure what that means. Gonna find out. But the thing is, Kingdom Come, the Crisis thing kind of turned me off on that. For those of you who didn't know, they had Brandon Routh play that pretty much that Superman. That Kingdom Come Superman in that Kingdom Come Superman in that Crisis on Infinite Earths series, which is really dumb. Have you guys seen that? Did you guys see the Crisis on Infinite Earth series? Have you guys seen that by the CW? It's really bad. It's you know, we love cameos. I love cameos just as much as the next one, but that's all that was. It was just a cameo fest, the whole thing. It was just a way to say, "Hey guys, look at remember these characters here? Remember?" Which kind of worries me a little bit for Secret Wars, a little bit. Now, in Feige, we trust, you know, for the most part, if he's not too spread thin. But the big rumor for Secret Wars is that they're bringing back every single character, Marvel character, that has been in a movie before. MCU or not. They're all coming back for Secret Wars. Yeah, as an alternate version of themselves. That's the big thing. They want it to be bigger than Endgame. Of course they want, and that should be your goal. Your goal should be try to get bigger than Endgame. So they're thinking, okay, we're going to bring back every single person who's played a Marvel character ever. Which sounds cool on paper. But it could also turn into Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that's what they did, right? That's what they did. Because they brought Tom Welling back. They even brought Burt Ward back. Burt Ward from the original Batman, 1960s Batman. And all it was a cameo fest. It was really bad. It was really bad. Making Brandon Routh Superman again. And Superman was pretty bad. So let's, I know Avengers will not be like that, for sure. Secret Wars won't be like that. I have high hopes that it's going to be better than Crisis on Infinite Earths. But hopefully a lot better, Hopefully a lot better. We're going to find out. We're going to find out how much better it's going to be. But seeing James Gunn put up that Kingdom Come tease, as they say, I think James Gunn could probably do a better one. A better Kingdom Come than what we've seen. So exciting times, I'm really interested to see this plan. This big plan. But it's always like, I'm always wary about them announcing a plan, right? I'm always worried about them announcing a plan because they did that before. Like they had this whole, remember before they had this whole slate of DC properties. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they had a Flash movie, they had a Cyborg, they had all these different types of movies they were going to do. And they did none of it. None of it. So I want to hear their plan, but at the second time, I don't want to hear their plan. I want to hear their plan, but I don't want to see their plan. You know what I mean? I want to be surprised. Just announce the movies. Just announce the movies. Don't tell us, we're planning on doing a Green Lantern movie. Just show us that it's in production. Show us in production. Just get things in production. Don't bother telling us there's because they're setting themselves up for failure, I think, by doing that. Because all it takes is one bomb, and then they're gonna change course again. They're gonna change course again. So, but I'll be here. We'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it if they do announce their plan. And I think they will announce their plan. It's just because they want to instill a little bit of confidence in the new regime that's going on at DC. But again, well, let's be honest too. Like Suicide Squad didn't do well. Didn't make that much money. Suicide Squad. People really liked the people who did watch it. They really liked it. They really, really, really liked it. But at the same time, didn't do well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. As long as they don't count their chickens. But speaking of counting their chickens, well, count your Navi. Like they, what's it called? I just read yesterday that they just wrapped filming Avatar 3. Or they're very close to wrapping already Avatar 3, and they are considering doing seven new Avatar movies. 7. Can I ask you guys how many here are excited to see Avatar? I am. I'm definitely excited to see Avatar and see what this movie is all about, even though the marketing isn't really telling us what it's about. I think they're playing a dangerous game. They're thinking that the people who watched it, how many years ago is that now? 13 years ago, are all going to come back and watch this one, and that's a dangerous game they're playing. But never doubt James Cameron. Never doubt James Cameron. Always put hit after hit after hit. Even though they're years apart, right? But I'm very interested in seeing the technology he uses. I am very interested. He always comes up with new technology that helps the visual effects industry as a whole. He always does something to change the game. So from a visual effects standpoint, it's more than just the movie. It's like, how is he bringing this industry forward? Because he always does it. He always does it. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm personally excited for this movie. I think it's going to do phenomenal. I was reading that it doesn't need to make $2 billion to break even. It only needs a measly $800 million to break even. Only a measly $800 million to break even. I think it's going to make $800 million. I think it's going to make $800 million. And that's the fun part about movies. It's more than just the movie itself. It's seeing all the business side of everything, and seeing if that part's it, right? Didn't James Cameron say it needed to make $2 billion to make a profit? That was a story a few days ago, but I believe that they actually crunched the numbers again, and they say it's actually more $800 million as opposed to $2 billion. But what do I know? What do I know? I'm just a guy who just reads headlines, headline reader. So that's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. Henry, and good to see you, brother. When I saw the first Avatar, it was like no 3D I ever saw before. I thought it was incredible. Yeah. So he always changes the game. He always changes the game when it comes to visual effects. And like as a former visual effects artist, that excites me a little bit more than the actual movie itself. It's like, what new thing is he going to bring in that's going to change the game? But then again, it's all AI art nowadays. Anyway, now. Oh boy, we'll talk more about AI art another day. I got even more thoughts on it now than I did before. So we'll see. Okay, but anyway, that's the news of the day. That's the news, and that's something new I'm going to try in these streams. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on, in the comics world, in the movie land. Video games a little bit. If I'm interested in it, we're going to talk about things that are going on in the world. Okay, so, in pop culture land. Okay, in pop culture land, I'm going to talk a little bit about that every stream. Okay, and before I go into talking about the topic I want to talk about today. Okay, and then, so today gonna tell you a little story. Who wants to hear a little story today? Let's see a little story while I'm drawing this muscular Mario here. What should I talk about today? Let's talk comics. Let's talk comics today. All right. I got, you guys know, I got a lot of stories. I told a lot of my stories already, and I'm gonna tell you about me being in comics. And I've told this many times, but maybe some of you guys are new, don't know my journey when it comes to comic books. But last time I worked in comics, well, I won't say last time. Last time I was full time in comic books was, well, I won't even say that because I quit comics to try new things in 2006, I believe. That's when I went back to school to take computer animation. So I was in, I did comics full time for roughly 6 years. 6 years before I decided to change course, try a new career out. It's interesting. It was an interesting time. So I'm gonna tell you guys my story. A lot of you have heard this story already, but maybe some of you haven't. So maybe this will help you guys. A lot of you guys do want to be comic book artists, and I appreciate that you want to follow me. I can't give you much in terms of today, how you could get a job today, because I haven't gotten a job today. I've gotten marketing gigs, but I haven't got comic book gigs, mainly because I don't do comics anymore. But I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions about drawing comics. It's because a lot of people just want to draw their favorite. A lot of people just want to draw their favorite characters. A lot of people just want to draw, Batman, Superman, get paid for it, right? Who wouldn't want to do that? That's awesome. But they don't understand that that's not comics. Comics is more than just drawing your favorite heroes. Comics is telling stories. Comic books is storytelling. That's your main job. You are a storyteller. You're not a pinup artist. Though there are pinup artists in comics, cover art, they're mostly doing cover art. And there are people who just make their living doing comic art. But if you want to be a comic book artist, really what you want to be is a sequential storyteller. That's what that is. Sequential storyteller. Look at that. You could see Mario's abs through his overalls. Look at that. So that was always the hardest part for me. Was the actual storytelling part. So let me tell you guys how I got my foot in the door. And I'm gonna see if there's, because I told this story many times before, but I want to see if there's anything I've missed previously. Because in high school, I have done comics in high school, and I there was actually a time that someone actually paid me to do a comic. I'm not gonna give that person any publicity, because I think that person's still trying to do something with that comic. But I did draw a comic book professionally when I was in high school. Still without the intention of wanting to be a comic book artist, per se. Still without the intention of being a comic book artist. Again, it wasn't until my last year of high school that I decided I wanted to be a comic book artist. It was only my last year of high school. I was going to be a doctor, just like any other Asian kid. I was going to be a doctor. In my last year of high school, I was looking at my schedule, and then part of it's laziness. I'll admit that at my age. Well, a couple of things. Part of it's laziness in terms of, like, I didn't want to do those courses here. Back then, in Canada, we had something called, or at least where I live here in Ontario, Canada, we had something called OACs. So high school was actually 5 years. It wasn't 4. Back then, high school was 5 years. And to get into a college, you needed 6 OAC credits, okay? So an OAC credit is pretty much like a university level class. And you need 6 of those and do well in them if you wanted to go into college. So I already had 5, but they weren't like the sciences. They weren't, I didn't do that well in them. So I was looking at my schedule, my final year of high school, and I had 6 OAC courses. And I was like, that was when I just stared at my timetable. Stared at it. And I was like, I don't want to do this, man. I don't want to go into medicine. I didn't want to go to medicine. I wanted to draw for a living. That was the first time ever in my mind, because I was always drawing. That was the first time ever in my mind I was like, no, I don't. Because it was always like, yeah, this is just a hobby. This is just a hobby. I'm gonna have to go and get a real job eventually. Maybe I should have. I'm gonna have to go get a real job. There's a time where this hobby's not gonna be worth it anymore. But when I looked at my timetable and I saw I had 6 of them, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm probably not gonna need this. I want to go and do art for a living. So that didn't necessarily mean comic books, those guys. Because at that time, Sheridan College, which I did eventually go for animation, they had this animation program that was world-renowned at that time. Okay, because right now, like I think the big art schools, you're talking about like Art Center in California, you're talking about Ringling in Florida, who I believe Michelle Phan, if you guys don't know, she actually went to Ringling. I thought it was really cool. See, I'm a fan of Michelle Phan mainly because of her visual effects background. She's a visual effects artist, but she went into makeup and now killing it as an entrepreneur. If I ever get to meet Michelle Phan, it'd be more talking visual effects. That's what I'd be there talking to her about. And YouTube, and doing what's it called? YouTube and business for sure. But anyway, Sheridan College here in Toronto, Canada, that was a huge one back then. This is in the 90s, guys, like 1996. It was huge back then. Like literally, Disney was coming up. Disney was coming up to Canada and plucking people out of the animation program. Like in second year, they would literally come up and pluck people out. So everybody wanted to be in the not computer animation, because it wasn't that big of a thing, in the animation program at Sheridan College, because it was like an automatic job. It was like automatic start. So that was the program I wanted to go into. I wanted to be in that program. So I decided I was going to drop out of high school because I only needed 1 credit to graduate. I only needed 1 credit, the OAC English. That was the only credit I needed. I said to myself, you know what? I could finish that. In night school and then go to college immediately in January. Now, hindsight's 2020. You hear that saying, hindsight's 2020. I probably wouldn't have made that decision today. I'll tell you what. It happens all the time for me. You guys don't know this. I'm an introvert. And you'll find a lot of people that are like YouTubers and influencers. A lot of us are introverts. What does that mean? We don't do well with people. You wouldn't think that, because all you see is what you see right now, right? You see me talking to you guys here. I have no problem talking to you guys on YouTube, but if it was just like 2 or 3 people in a room, and I had to carry the conversation, it's tough for me. I'll do it, but it's tough. It's very, very tough. So when a lot of people say that they're introverted, people are like, nah. Like they see me online, you. No, it's very true. I am. So whenever I go to a place of work, throughout all my careers, I always find that when I first start a job, okay, or even in high school, when I first started high school, I have no friends at all. No friends whatsoever. Maybe one or two, the odd one or two. But for the most part, I don't really have any friends for a long time. For a long time. But it's always when I'm about to leave. That's when I start making friends. And high school was no different. Because high school, it was my final year that I started to join all the clubs. And I started to do all these extracurricular activities. And when I was starting to get, I wouldn't say popular, but I had friends. A lot of them. And then I decided to leave. I decided to leave high school early to go pursue this art thing. So looking back at it now, I don't know why I was in so much of a rush. I don't know why. I would have had a much better time if I think I would have done well in high school. I should have just stuck with it. I think just finish off those last courses. Enjoyed my my last year of high school because it was the first time ever I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends that were, quote unquote active, right, but very involved. I think I would have had a very fun time if I actually went there, right? So we'll see. And then somebody threw in a super chat, by the way. Let me just see what that says here from Invisible Bully. Are you doing this off the top of the dome? Are you talking about talking or drawing? I'm drawing off the top of the dome right now. I'm just drawing. The Mario costume is very easy. But thank you so much, Invisible Bully, for the super chat. I appreciate that, my friend. Not so invisible now, are we? Because I see your comment, my friend. But thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it, my brother. But part of me was like, yeah, maybe I should have finished high school. But it is what it is. Life takes you in different paths, and my path was finish off finish off my school, and then go to college right after, as soon as I could. Now, I took this course called Art Fundamentals. Okay, so it is exactly what the title implies. Art Fundamentals. It's a way to learn the fundamentals of art. This course is designed to build a portfolio, so you could get into that animation program, that coveted animation program that everybody wanted. It gave you a leg up on everybody else. It gave you a leg up, so that's why I took that particular course there. And we learned everything from sculpture to painting. I think that was the first time I really painted. Like I did painting in college or in high school. I did some painting, like acrylic paints. I've never done oils in my life, but acrylic paints I've done a lot. Because in high school, that's what we did. We did a lot of acrylic painting. My favorite teacher of all time, Mr. Pegler. Mr. Pegler. I don't even know if he's alive today, because he was an older gentleman at the time. Mr. Pegler. I wonder if he's still alive. If he's alive still, he's very old. Because he was an older gentleman with white hair, so I'm thinking maybe he was in his 50s, probably when I was in high school. So if he is alive still, he'd be in his 80s. But he was by far away my favorite teacher of all time, Mr. Pegler. So we did a bit of painting in high school, but not much. So my first real painting experience came in college. I think this is going to be turned more into a college talk than a comics talk. Maybe we'll save the comics talk tomorrow. But let's talk college since we're here. So we learned a lot of things there. We learned graphic design, a bit of graphic design. I started to learn how to take critiques. I think that's one thing today's generation has a hard time with, is people critiquing their work. And you might have like even more the hardest critiques these days, because today, like, fans are brutal, right? They'll tell you how it is. They don't care, and they'll do it in a mean way. But when you get it in your school, when you get it in your class from your teachers, uh, it's not necessarily in a mean way, but sometimes you feel it's like a mean way because you never had criticism before. Usually a lot of people taking those courses, their mom is always telling them they're the best artists in the world. And you're right, Mario doesn't skip leg day. They're Mario. Nor do you. I know you don't skip leg day, Mario. So I learned how to take critiques. So, like for example, I had a teacher. It was a graphic design course. So whenever we had a project, we would actually put up on the day it was due. You don't just hand it in. We had to pin it on the wall. We had to pin our art projects on the wall, and we would go one by one and just critique it, right? Tell you everything that's right with it, everything that's wrong with it. And that's always scary. Because not only are they going to bust up your work, but they're going to do it in front of the whole class. But there was a reason to that method. There's a reason. And I get that now, especially becoming a teacher, is because what ends up happening is it's always the same critiques over and over again. And there's a lot people can learn by critiquing your work. So, there's like 20 of us in the class, and they would go ahead and put up all of our projects. We had to make posters, we had to make all these things. And our teacher would go up there and critique it. And it was quite the experience. Learned a lot. I learned a lot from that experience. So, we did a lot of things like painting. A lot of painting. For the most part in acrylics, but I did learn watercolor for the first time, and then that's when I really started to study Alex Ross's painting style. I really, really started to study Alex Ross's painting style. Yeah, they're really, really... Because the way Alex Ross did it in Wizard Magazine, and Alex Ross shows you his process today on his YouTube channel. Talk about a slow and steady growth. That's the way Alex Ross approaches YouTube, right? Very slow and steady. And he's starting to really catch fire now. But his approach to painting, where he would actually paint it in black and white first, and then add color afterwards, unless he needed something that needed like very saturated color, and he wouldn't actually do that part. That's the only time he didn't do it in grayscale. If he knew that he wanted a color, he will eventually use a color that's more saturated. So I took a lot of those techniques and I incorporated it into my gouache work. So gouache. So I worked with the gouache. Watercolor and gouache. I used a lot of watercolor and gouache when I was in high school or in college. Like even you learn a lot of things in college. Like I even learned how to use colored pencils properly. Because she was telling us this technique about how to sharpen your colored pencils. And my I forgot what class that was, but my teacher, she said that never sharpen your colored pencils with a pencil sharpener. Never do it. Use a knife. Use a knife, because if you use a pencil sharpener, you're actually wasting a lot of the colored pencil. It made a lot of sense. You just need to sharpen the tip of it. So you don't need to use a sharpener, because you're going to actually lose a lot of the colored pencil by sharpening it. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's little things like that you learn in college. But I'm actually getting ahead of myself. Because that was actually when I took illustration. So so the admissions for all the programs, we all applied in, I think it was April. So we knew by the end of April if we got into the animation course or not. I remember my friend Ed Rocho. That's his name. I don't know what he's doing today, but he actually worked out with me at Dreamwave for a little bit. But I remember because I went over to his house. Fellow Filipino guy. Went over to his house, and it was funny because he kept talking to his mom, and the mom's like, "You're going into animation, right?" Yes, I got into animation. He didn't even apply it. He kept going to his mom. Oh, he goes, "Yes, I got into animation, mom. Don't worry." She's like, "You got into animation, right?" "Yes, mom, I got into animation." And I'm like, man, that's a bold statement. But he actually did get into animation. He got in. He was so happy. So I remember we found out that they announced who we're getting into all the programs, right? So to get into the animation, you had to do things like they had a character, and you had to draw that character doing different expressions. So you had to draw the character being angry and sad and all that. That was tough for me. That was very tough. I couldn't do it that well, but I did the best I could. You had to do some perspective drawings. You had to. I believe part of it was you had to do a lot of life drawing, and I always tell you guys, life drawing is a lifesaver. You'll learn so much life drawing. One of my favorite artists, Stephen Platt, he told me that, and you wouldn't tell this by his artwork, because his artwork is very detailed and cartoony and exaggerated, but he said life drawing really changed the way he drew. And if you look up Stephen Platt work, you're like, this guy? I'm like, yeah. You have to know the rules before you break them. But they had a list to get into the animation program. They had a list of all of these life drawings that you needed. So we all went to life drawing in the evening. We all tried to, you know what's the hardest? You know what's the hardest thing for a life drawing model to do? That every Filipino could do with their asleep. They can't squat. They can't squat. They can't squat. Asians know how to squat. We grew up squatting, right? We grew up squatting. Like that's my not me. Okay, so I get it. But you tell a life drawing model, because one of the requirements was draw somebody squatting down. That was one of the requirements to get into this animation program. Draw somebody squatting down. And we would always ask somebody to do it, and they could never do it. Squatting down. I wasn't with my wife back then, but my girlfriend at the time. I should have just told her, "Could you just squat down for like half an hour and let me draw you?" Because nobody could do it. Nobody could do it because they're not used to it. But most Asians are used to squatting, right? So you had to put all of that in there, plus your best pieces. So time came when we actually found out who got into the programs. Now at that time, there was really only that program. Like there were other animation programs. There was one in a school called Mohawk College that was about a few hours away. And there was, I think, one in Montreal that had somewhat of an animation program. All of them were Sheridan College grads, by the way, the people who were running these programs. So really, there was no secondary option. Like today, there's so many animation programs in Toronto. There's so many different schools that you could go to animation to, so it's a lot different. There you go. So really, if you didn't get into computer animation, usually we ended up going to another program. So my secondary choice was called illustration. I illustration in Sheridan College instead. And unfortunately, I did not get into the animation program. It was devastating. I did get into the illustration program, no problem. But I got on the wait list for animation. But, if you get on the wait list animation, you're not getting it. You're not getting it. Because there's no secondary choice. Like, everyone who wanted to get into animation, they applied. They were going to accept. Because there was no other choice back then. Though looking at it now, talking about hindsight 2020, I'm actually glad I didn't get in. And the reason is because I knew I would have failed. Because I knew myself back then when I was in college. I wasn't the hardest working cat in the world. And if you were going to make it in animation, you needed to work. And a lot of what they did in that animation program, I don't think I would have done well. I don't think I would have done well. So because they were doing things like, for example, I think one of the first projects you had to do in animation, and again, because my buddies were all in the animation program, they all got in, which was funny, because in the art fundamental program, which I was telling you guys about, in that art fundamental program, they had this thing where the top student in the class, they get to go to the program of their choice. And the top student in my class is a friend of mine, extremely talented artist. But so he won that award, and we were very happy for him. But the problem is, he actually had to finish the course. He had to finish our fundamental course, which ran through the summer. All of us, after we found out we got into those courses we wanted, we all dropped out. We all dropped out of the course because why continue? Try to get some of the money back because we're going to need it for the real programs. And we literally all dropped out of school because we all had our program already. So, but our friend, I forgot his name. I don't remember his name, but our buddy, I felt so bad for him because he was talented enough to get into that program without winning that competition. So he did not need to take that competition. He did not need to win. He would have got in easily. He was so good. He would have gotten into the animation program easily, but now he was stuck in that program. So he was the only one left. He had to finish the program. So I ended up taking illustration. I had a buddy in art fundamentals. I felt so bad for him because he was an older gentleman. He was in his 30s at the time, and he applied, like all of us. You know, when you're in college, you know the people that are going to succeed and those who won't. You just do. You could tell. You could tell by work ethic. You could tell by their skill level. So he was one of those guys where he was a great guy, and you hoped that he would make it, but you weren't sure if he was going to make it. So he told me, he was so happy. He told me that he got into illustration and he was on the wait list for animation. I was so happy for him. And then he checked again. And unfortunately, he didn't get into anything. And I don't know what happened to him because he was actually suicidal at the time. So hopefully everything turned out because I didn't hear from him again afterwards after we all kind of dropped out the program. So I hope he did well, but that was like years ago. We're talking about late 90s. So hopefully he was okay. But we all end up going into our new program. So I took the illustration program. And to start it off, the illustration program, everybody starts off the same, okay? Because illustration, it goes into two different avenues. And I told this story before. You could either go into interpretive illustration or technical illustration. So interpretive illustration was red makes me angry. Or this picture has the fingers cut off, which means that society is cut off. Artwork like that. It's like that. It's very interpretive, right? And they told us, if you wanted to get into comic books, you should go into interpretive illustration. That's the one you should do. That's where they actually did all the life drawing and stuff you would need to get into comic books. That's what they said. So that was the goal for me to get into interpretive. However, in our interpretive illustration class, and I told this story many times before, I was about to fail because I just wasn't good at that stuff. I wasn't good at blue means calming, means the world peace, or whatever it was. You know what I mean? I was never good at that stuff. I was never good at that. So I was literally about to fail that course. And then my interpretive teacher, who still works there, from what I heard, he actually still is the program director there, Joe Morse. I don't mind saying his name, Joe Morse. Like, he was a good guy and all. Just I couldn't do the program. It was on me. It's nothing to do with Joe. But Joe was gonna fail me. But he gave me the option. He goes, hey, tell you what, James, if you decide to go into technical illustration, I'll give you a D and you'll pass. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing the technical illustration. Now, technical illustration at the time, we were doing things like, have you guys opened up a manual? For example, you buy a gaming chair. I just bought a gaming chair the other day for my son. And, you open up the manual and it shows you how to put it together. And the artwork in there? That's the kind of artwork that we learned how to do. Very technical. That's why it's called technical, like instruction manual type art. That's what we were learning how to do. That's what we were learning how to do. So I learned how to ink. I learned how to do perspective. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know how to do. Before I went into college, I couldn't draw a building to save my life. I couldn't. I wasn't very good at it. Because I didn't get the ins and outs of perspective, for example. I didn't know how perspective worked. But it was kind of beaten into me in college. We learned how to do scientific illustrations. So illustrations that you've seen in textbooks. That's the kind of stuff we learned. And, it was fun. There's a lot of benefit to all of that. I started learning Photoshop. Like, Photoshop, it was new back then. Like, early 90s. Like, Photoshop's been around, of course. Well, got a taste of using Photoshop at the time. Very slow Photoshop, but Photoshop nonetheless. You know how long ago this stuff was, guys? You know how long ago this was? Back then, I had to buy something called a jazz disc. Any of you heard of that? Jazz disc? A jazz disc was this very specialized, like a hard drive. Very specialized hard drive that held an absurd amount of data on it. Absurd amount. You know how much it could hold, guys? 1 gigabyte. Wow. That was enough to back up your whole computer back then. This jazz drive cost me, I think, well over $100. And for a starving student, that was a lot of money back then. But that was back then, like Suture Art knows floppy disks. That's right, floppy disks. You can't even put a meg on that thing, right? He knows floppy disks. But to that, and then we have the zip drives. The zip drives are a little bit cheaper, but they hold 100 megs. Wow, 100 megabytes. Holy cow! So. Let me go ahead and draw the legs here, and then we're gonna go ahead and do. Who should we draw? Luigi. I'm gonna draw Luigi. But then I was lucky enough that because in my final year. Oh, by the way, I almost failed too. There was a time I almost failed technical illustration. It's because my I had a couple projects for my technical illustration class that I actually put in the wrong area to get marked, and my teacher didn't see them. So I failed the class, or I got it incomplete. I got it incomplete in that class, so I thought I failed. But then it turned out that he just didn't see my assignments. So he went and took a quick look at it, and then we fixed it. He passed me. He said I could redo a few of those projects. I didn't redo it. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. So. But then, for my final year, we actually needed a work placement. And lucky for me, I was able to meet those fine fellows at Dreamwave Productions. And they gave me my work placement. So my work placement was working on Dark Mind's Witchblade for Top Cow and Dreamwave, which is a story for another day. I'll tell you that story, which I've told before. I told that story before, but a big part of my life was how I got that very, very first comic job. So at the end of the day, like, I'm trying to think to myself how things would have been different if I did get into that animation program. How things would have been different if I decided to stay in high school for that final year. Because I'll tell you, man, I would have had a lot of fun that final year. They were going to feature me in the choir. I was going to have a feature spot in the choir. I would have had a lot of fun. So again, hindsight's 2020, guys. Hindsight's 2020. I always say that. And you can't change your past. But if I were to go back and change something there, number one, the thing I would have done was I would have stayed in high school. I would have finished high school. Well, there's no rush. What was the rush? I could have took art fundamentals the next year. You know? And maybe I would have had a better chance of getting into animation if I did. Right? But again, you never know. You never know. And I never know what would have happened if I stayed in high school. But if there's one thing, the only two regrets I have in high school. Number one, I didn't stay. Because again, I would have had more fun. Number two, I wish I would have took drama. I think I would have loved doing drama in high school. Because I never even went to those plays. And then my buddy, he took me to a play because he really liked one of the girls there in the play. She was a friend of mine too, but he really liked one of the girls there. And then I watched the play. I'm like, man, I could have done this. I could have done improv. You guys know I love improv. It's fun, right? I could have done all that. So that's another regret I had in high school. Out of my many regrets in high school, but those two main things I wish I did when I was younger. But again, would it have led up to what I'm doing now? Probably. I don't know. But that is my high school life, my high school career. Okay, so I know everyone has a different journey. I'd love to hear your high school stories. If you want, throw them into the community tab. I'd love to read them if you have a good high school story. Or high school art story, most especially. Now, here's a question. Was school worth it? I was lucky enough my school was paid for. My parents worked really hard so I wouldn't have debt coming out of school. I know people weren't that lucky. Like my wife wasn't that lucky. She had a lot of student debt coming out of school. Now, after a while, it wasn't that much money. After a while, like the monthly the yearly payments weren't that much for the student debt, but student debt nonetheless. So I was very lucky in the sense that my school was paid for. My parents worked so hard, so my school was paid for. So that was that. So, you know, I always tell you guys, was school worth it? It was. I don't think I would have gotten a look or a sniff from these comic book companies if, like, my first job in comics was a background artist. I wouldn't have known how to do backgrounds if I didn't go to school. Okay. But again, I understand for a lot of you guys, school is very, very expensive. I get that. But if you can't afford to go to school, you need to work as hard as somebody who is in school. And I mentioned that before. We'll talk about that more on another day. So definitely a worthwhile experience for me. So, all right, so let's go ahead and I'm just gonna erase. Well, I'm just trying to dry the ink here. Okay. So what we're gonna probably do now is what we're gonna draw now. Should I draw Luigi now? Draw Luigi. Part of me wants to draw Luigi, but or should I do the princess next? Part of me wants to draw Luigi. Yeah, I'll probably do Luigi. We're gonna do Luigi next, but I'm actually gonna stop the stream, and we are gonna add Luigi on the next stream. Okay, so just hold on tight, guys. We'll probably do Luigi, and I probably might do Donkey Kong today. That's the three I'm gonna do today. We'll see if there's time for Donkey Kong, but at the very least, we're gonna do Luigi. Okay, so guys, hang tight. Wait for the next stream, and the next stream, I'm gonna get to your questions. Okay. Once again, if you guys want to comment, you want me to answer your comments, I will answer super chats immediately. But if you really, really want to, you don't necessarily have to do that. All you need to really do is go to the, if I can pull it up here, where is it? Where are you? Right here. All you really need to do is go to the community chat right here, the top post here. Ask me anything. Let's see if any more comments came in. So a few comments came in. Okay, and I'm going to read your comments. If you want to talk about college, if you want to talk about school, anything you want to talk about, let's do that here. I'll even answer some questions from yesterday. So now it's your turn to talk. This is now your show. We're going to talk about your comments when we come back. All right, guys? All right, so thank you guys for watching this first part. We're going to come back with Luigi. We're going to draw Luigi in the next stream. Okay, guys? Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in a minute. All right. All right, here we go.